folks, welcome back to another Battling Brushes. Today, Rob and I are continuing our coverage of Dust 1947. We each have our own respective battle groups. Rob is taking care of the German Blutkreuz, and I am taking care of the PLA, or Battle Group PLA, the People's Liberation Army, I think is what it's supposed to call. It's the Chinese faction in Dust 1947. So today we're taking a crack at the two walkers that come respectively in each of the different battle groups, one each, that is. So I'll be taking care of Nina, the light anti-tank walker, and then Rob is going to be taking care of his, I don't even know what it's called, but it looks really cool. So you'll see that in a few minutes. But hey, without further ado, let's go ahead and get down to the table, get started. All right, so here we have the Nina light anti-tank walker for Battle Group PLA. As you can see, it's not going to match the picture that's there because, quite frankly, I don't know how to do all that. I don't know how to make it look like this, so I'm not going to make it look like that. I'm going to make it look the way I want to make it look. And so, as you can see here, the PLA's uniform is kind of a light blue, and I'm using this wolf gray for them. Armor, I've always seen go a little bit of a darker color. So for the armor here, I'm going to use this Altdorf Guard blue from Citadels, and then I'm going to be coming back over it with a couple of shades of maybe, you know, a layer of lead belcher on a, you know, a little bit of a heavy dry brush, and then we're going to come back with something a little bit lighter, maybe a Rune Fang steel or something like that, to touch up all the highlights and just make it look really worn down. And of course, we're going to use some Nuln Oil or heavy tone for the model as well. But we have these missile housings that we need to do, a machine gun as well. This is the lid that goes kind of on top there, like that. So we've got a little thing, we've got a, I guess, an ammo crate, maybe there's a missile crate or something like that we're going to do in this blue color too. So we've got a lot to do, so let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so as you can see, I've already kind of gotten started on this, and the reason I did that is because I needed to cut around that star there, and then I also needed to do around this little headlight housing, whatever it might be. But now we've got some opportunity here to just kind of go to town and get as much coverage on this thing as possible. So I'm going to use a little bit of a bigger brush because we've got more stuff to cover here, and I'm really just trying to work this into all of those little cracks and crevices so that we can get good coverage. But I am trying to do a little bit of a lighter coat so that we don't lose some of the detail that's in those little divots and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Alright, so we got everything done there with getting this Altdorf Guard blue down for the armor, and let me just say that that took more coats than I want to admit to, but we did get it to the place where I'm comfortable with it. Now on these hoses back here, these hydraulic hoses, I guess they are what they are, we're going to get those with some matte black, or a Baden Black if you want to use the Citadel, and that's what we're going to do now. So again, you just take a little bit of that, you don't want too much on the brush. Well, that's a little bit too much, but anyway, I'm just going to come on here and make sure that you're just cutting in the hoses itself so that we can get that nice and darkened in. Like so. And again, you're not, of course, like I said already, you're not wanting to have too much on this brush because you want to leave those ridges that are on the hose intact so that when we come back with a different color to kind of give them a little bit of highlight, they're going to pop a little bit better for us. So just make sure that you're not putting too much paint on the brush, and you're the way I'm doing it here is just kind of letting the bristles get into those crevices and cover that stuff up for us. So this other side here is a little bit difficult to show on camera, but we're just getting the other side of that same hose. So you just want to make sure you got the whole thing covered there. Then of course you want to do both of the hoses, all of them. So just cover in there. Now if you see that you do have a little bit glopping up, like what I just did right there, it came off a little bit too much in that one spot, just wait until you have most of the paint out of your brush. Then just come back and kind of use your brush as a sponge to kind of get that paint off of where that is. So if you make mistakes, don't worry about it. You can always fix them. And now that we got the cockpit kind of cut in, we're going to come back and do some lead belcher on these. I'm imagining they are fuel cans back here. So this is just going to be a base coat of lead belcher, because we want that nice dark deep metallic color that's in there to really be prevalent. And of course we're going to have to do a few coats of this as well. Okay, now since we have this lead belcher out, we're going to go ahead and do the first pass of a heavy, well, I don't know, mid-weight, I guess you could say, to heavy dry brush on this. And so first thing, we're going to get most of this out of our brush. Alright, we need to make sure that we get most, we're using the lead belcher again, and we want to get most of this out of our brush, not using a whole lot of paint on the brush. Make sure it's worked in there well. And then we're just going to kind of dust over this hard blue that's here, so that we can kind of just get some of the wear and tear of the model on there. We're not really wanting to do one specific area too much, but at the same time we do want to get some of those raised areas to make it look like it's got some battle damage on it. And see, I messed that up. So I'm going to have to come back and touch that up in a little bit and then dry brush over it again. But just catch these edges. So anywhere where you can see an edge, try to get some of that silver, that little lead belcher or whatever you're trying to use there. You know what, I might just leave that there and try to work with it, now I'm thinking about it. Now that we've got this kind of shined up a little bit and it looks like it's metal and it's got a lot of wear on it, I'm going to dinge it up a little bit with some Nuln oil and get it into all those little cracks and crevices and get it dimmed up a little bit. Then we're going to come back and hit some of the highlights of the model and see if that can make it look pretty. While we're waiting on that Nuln oil to dry completely, we're going to go ahead and do these missile housings. The outside here is going to be a blue color, you know, the same blue as the armor, but the missiles themselves and the housings will be different, but we're just going to do the actual outside of it here first. And I've got a lot of weird angles on this, so we have to kind of be a little touchy. A lot of dabbing. Normally I don't like doing that, but you kind of have to because there's so many different angles. And so now as we get back to the model itself, we have allowed the shade, the Nuln oil, to dry pretty good, and it is pretty dinged up there. So we're going to come back and brighten up some of those places that we want to be a little bit brighter than normal. So a couple things that we didn't do on the beginning also. So this roll bar or whatever it is going to be just a silver. I'm going to do it a lead belcher color so that it's a little bit, there's a little bit of uniformity there, because we don't want it to stand out like a sore thumb and be too bright. We want it to kind of flow seamlessly into the rest of the model. And then a couple of the other things maybe we want to come back and highlight, you know, maybe the top of these ridges here, just to give them a little bit more of a shiny effect, and the rest of the canister. So just kind of break up that Noon oil a little bit, but leave the other parts of it alone. Just let this shinier part kind of stand out, and you know, just keep the brush at almost a perpendicular angle here, so that you just kind of touch the highlights and you leave out all that other stuff. Then we want to go back and touch up some of the edges. Just a little bit of the edge here, so that we can just catch those highlighted parts. Not really wanting to add a whole lot. You're not looking to bring a whole lot of attention, just a little bit. Maybe some of these nuts and bolts and stuff like that. Next, we're going to go ahead and paint the missile housings here. We're going to paint them green. I already did one. Haven't completely finished it though, but you get the idea of what it's going to look like. It's going to have that green color. Of course, we haven't dingied all of these up with the Noon oil, so don't worry about it not matching the rest of the model. It will definitely happen. And after a few touch-ups here and there, this is your final product. Of course, got to do the base and all that good stuff, but pretty much that is your final product. Nice and dinged up looking, but it still has that blue of the PLA, which is what I was going for. I'm especially happy that that star kind of blended in with all of the other things that was there, and it looks like it was not just cut around. So I am pretty happy with this. If you open it up, I did do some detail work on the pilot in there, as you can see. And I don't know if you can see the cockpit that I did as well. A little bit of extra detail in the cockpit too. That's just brush control, taking your time, being patient. That's all that really is. No new colors or anything like that, but this just pops right back on the crossbar right there and can be down, and Nina is ready for battle.
Thank you, Sam. Well, today I'm painting this big guy right here. So I decided to take a little different twist on it. I want to make it look really rough and banged up a bit, and like it's been in a few battles, because after all, they are at war. So let's go down to the table. I'm going to show you a quick, easy way. Okay, we're down to the table here, getting ready to work on this mech. As you can see, there are certain parts that come in here. You don't want to glue these in, but the reason I left this the way this is, I want to show you that underneath it's already pre-primed gray, but because this is a desert unit, I decided to prime it with a Tellurian sand, which gives it a nice good prime. Another thing that I did, if you really notice here, that I kind of left this area open here. I'm just painting around it or priming around it, because I'm going to clean all this up at some point. But I'm going to take a smaller brush and try to keep that decal in there, because I think it'll look really cool. I do like the bottom of the bases, so you don't want to test too many things on the bottom bases. But we're going to finish off the base and get everything all painted up. All right, next we're going to take a batten black, and as you can see, what I'm doing here is I am hitting this area here. I'm painting all the guns, and we're going to paint this other gun and get that all with a batten black. Once we do that, we are going to take some lead belcher and we're going to hit all these gears. All these gears in here. So I'm going to get all that done, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do after that. So like I said, I'm taking the lead belcher and I'm doing the pistons here, and I'm going to be hitting a lot of these like gear areas. I'm going to just try to really give this a little bit of a wear here. I want to hit all the bolts here, and there's a bunch of them in here, and I'm just going to work around and really get that where I want it to be, and work around and make sure we get the pistons here, the pistons in the back leg here. And when we're done with that, oh, look at that little screw housing there. So there's just like a lot of little areas that you kind of want to just kind of hit and just give it a little bit of, just kind of like this plate here. You can get away with that. And you can see we have our other things drying, and we'll put those in there and we'll get them going. But I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at what I'm doing. The next thing that we're going to do here is just very simply, we are going to take some Agrath Earthshade and just work it into all this area here. We're just going to take it and really get it all over this model, as you can see. And I am just taking and really just working all over this metal and all the area that we have painted so far. So what's this going to do? It's going to give it that worn look that we're looking for, that it's actually been out fighting in the desert for some time. And then once we darken it up, we're going to lighten it up. As you can see how this all just goes in here with this wash just getting in the recesses, and that's exactly all we're looking to do. So I'm going to finish this up and we'll come back. Now that we got everything dried up here, as you can see, the wash really dried in nice, gave it a little bit a nice dirty look. I always enjoy that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what is called a Baller Brown, which is a little lighter than the color that we originally started with, and I am going to take and just over the higher areas just kind of start working that in there, so we get so that wash just sits in the recesses. So I'm going to try to bring that metal back a little bit to that tan look. We want it to look like she's been in battle, but we don't want to you know, make it look like it's been too much in battle. I mean, come on now, it's only been out there for a little while. And then just going over some of the flatter areas, and you're just dry brushing this in there, just over the raised areas, and you're going to see you're going to get a nice result. As you can see here where the rivets really kind of are there, and we're just hitting a flat spot there and just working this in so we have a nice flat color over the top. I'm going to finish this up and then we're going to take a look at it when we're done. Basically there you have it. Just a nice simple job just to get it in there, and you can see we have nice dark recesses in there, bring out some of the detail. And all I did was take some Elmer's glue and some sand I had, threw it on there, threw a little lechin on there just to break up the sand a little bit for a base, and we've got ourselves a mech all ready to go and ready to play. So that's it for this week. Let me send it up top and get on out of here. Well, there you have it. Really quick, just a couple colors, a good wash, and then a dry brush out. You darken it up, you cover over that gray, and you give it a desert theme, and there you go. All set and done. Sam, take us on out of here.
So that's it. Another Battling Brushes episode in the books. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you checking it out so much. And Rob, I want to thank you for all the work that you've put into your model. It looks great, and I am looking forward to getting these models on the table and getting that playthrough done here in the near future. We're going to work on the specifics of that and let you guys know when to expect it, but it is on the horizon. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next time here on Battling Brushes. Take care.